What is the dumbest plot hole you've seen in a story? In the Santa Claus. The adults don't believe in Santa, but he does exist. So who the duck do they think is leaving the presents in their houses every Christmas? Mom thinks dad did it and dad thinks mom did it. In The Walking Dead. They figured out early on that they can smear dead people's guts all over them and the zombies can't smell them. Yet they never do this again. Despite the fact that it would save their lives constantly. Why isn't everyone walking about in Kevlar motorbike suits? Chew through that yaoi zombie ball bag. Several years into zombie apocalypse. Still rocking the all no sleeves look. Daryl? In Bubble Guppies. Which is underwater the fish people can get stuck on high objects and need rescue. The episode about rooms. In which Gil sleeps in a bathtub. Which turns on. Drenching him. Molly and the little fish laugh at him for getting wet. I'm not making this up. Or the mini golf episode. Where there's a pool of stagnant lava in the cave of water. No. There is no steam from the lava. Though the dragon obstacle shoots steam smoke from its nose. So we know it's possible in this world. J.K. Rowling said on Twitter that Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is canon. But there are way too many plot holes with time turners. Originally J.K. said that time turners only work for up to 5 hours. And that there can only be one timeline. And it can't change. Well. In CC that's obviously not the case. Wow. That was the worst book I've read in a long time. And JK sees no issue with it. I guess the money was good. I saw the play rather than read it. And while not a great story, the actors and effects really add to it. G.I. Joe. Underwater lair is destroyed by blowing up the ice above it. Icebergs sink down and crush everything. Ice. Sinking? Wait. X-Men 3 pissed me off with one out-of-universe story behind this. Filmmakers wanted to adapt the Phoenix Saga. Execs wanted it to adapt the Cure arc. Compromise was we'll just do both. And apparently nobody realized that since the Cure arc is about a cure for mutant powers. And the Phoenix Saga is about a mutant who needs to die because she's too powerful for her own good or the good of the world. That they solve each other. Wolverine doesn't need to heal Jean Grey to resolve this plot. He just needs to knock her out so they can give her the cure. Nobody involved in the making of the film noticed that apparently. Good catch. Maybe people didn't notice cause the rest of the movie sucked too. This is a cliche. But I believe we can't ignore Buzz Lightyear thinking he's not a toy but yet freezing every time humans enter the room. I'd like to think that Star Command trained Buzz to believe that humans are insanely strong. Giant aliens and your best survival tactic is to just freeze until they go away. I actually took this as a sign that deep down Buzz knew he was a toy. But the fear of his insignificance caused him to be in denial and delusional. The Hangover. They were in a casino hotel, right? Every square inch of those buildings is monitored 24/7. There is no way in hell that guy would have been stuck on the roof for more than an hour before some security guards went to get him. I actually went into the security surveillance room at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. They have hundreds, probably thousands, of cameras. But they only actually regularly monitor the games. And then only a small percentage of games. While they record footage from every camera. The vast majority of that footage is never viewed by anyone. However, the part that does seem unrealistic is them getting onto the roof without setting off an alarm. Vegas hotels are wary about letting people get somewhere they could jump off of. Because suicide by jumping is a very real concern. The whole premise of Ant-Man. I love Ant-Man. I love the story. But by Pyme's explanation. Ant-Man gets tiny BC, the Pyme particle just reduces the space between atoms. Sure. Fine. That makes sense. But that just means his density increases. He's not light as an ant. You don't just lose mass. That means he shouldn't be able to ride an ant or run along a gun barrel or do those amazing leaps. And if he is as light as an ant and can do all those things, then I don't give a duck how hard he punches. It's not gonna hurt. Ants may be strong for their size, but lem tell ya. If an ant punched me I wouldn't ducking feel it. The whole idea of Ant-Man makes no sense even in comic book logic. On the same token, Ant-Man shouldn't get heavy enough to break an airplane. All they did was decrease his density. If anything, he might be able to walk like he's on the moon or something. On top of that, if time particles just reduce the space between atoms, how did he go subatomic? The Dark Knight Rises. The entire sequence of Bruce going broke. Absolutely bullshit that Bane could commit securities banking fraud by shooting up the stock exchange. Exactly 0 transactions would be processed. And the whole nuclear Gomorrah actor thing. I can suspend disbelief for comic book movies, but some things are patently ridiculous if you're shooting for realism. Yay, the whole stock thing really bothered me. HMMMM. So the Gotham Stock Exchange is taken over by terrorists and a terminal is stolen. During that time, for some reason, Bruce Wayne for the first time suddenly makes a bunch of really bad trades. And no one questioned it. Harry Potter, wizards are completely oblivious to Muggle tech. It's stupid. Most of the wizards in that world come from Muggle families. They grew up with ballpoint pens, telephones, firearms, TV, etc, etc. Yet they use something as stupid and inefficient as owls. They use something as stupid and inefficient as quills. They use something as stupid and inefficient as wands to heal each other. I know it's been repeated over and over again, but the whole thing is a bit silly. Doesn't magic in the Harry Potter universe make Muggle tech stop working properly in its vicinity? Hence email is out. I could imagine there are wards against bullets as well. Yes. Hermione says multiple times that all the magic at Hogwarts makes Muggle tech unable to work properly. The Truman Show. None of the kids back in elementary school would have told him that it's a TV show. Or did they all just believe it was real life? And then they were told after growing up that their childhood was a lie? I'm more surprised as to who would keep watching that show. I'd probably get bored of it after a month. Just a guy doing his everyday stuff. If the Skull Islanders were so concerned with keeping King Kong out, why did they build a King Kong sized door? Because if you build an almost but not quite Kong-proof wall and Kong somehow manages to get over it, you now have a large hairy problem stuck on the wrong side of the wall. Much easier to deal with that problem if you can just open the gate and lure him back to the other side while you fix the bit that he got over. Spoiler alert for High Tension. Twist ending is that the hero and villain are the same person with multiple personalities. But the two were verifiably in separate places at the same time. Even sometimes driving separate vehicles that actually both get to new locations. It's such a lazy attempt at a gotcha ending that the filmmakers didn't even bother to ensure the rest of the movie made the ending remotely possible. It's a shame. Because it's a great thriller until the ending. So I assume it was tacked on during production. But the twist ruins repeat viewings because none of what's happening could literally be happening. Like in Fight Club. When they're smashing cars walking down the street. All of the ones Ed Norton hits has their car alarm go off, but none of the ones Brad Pitt hit go off. In Cinderella, the slipper should have disappeared with the rest of the stuff. Also, if it was supposedly such a great fit, it shouldn't have fallen off. Also, there had to be at least one other woman in the whole kingdom that had the same shoe size as Cinderella. Andy Bernard, who had done nothing but be depicted as a hot-headed loser who couldn't even make a sale, becomes regional manager. This is actually very realistic. Final Destination 3. In the premonition, we see them ride the roller coaster and that one dude with a video camera drops his camera. It wraps round the track below them, and when the train comes to this section of track, it hits the camera and the rails, killing everyone. Protagonist loses her sheet. Everyone gets booted off the train, including camera guy. A minute or so later, the other characters are all berating the protagonist for freaking out and getting them kicked off the ride. While this is happening, the roller coaster crashes in the background. Despite the camera guy cause of the crash being stood with them, holding his camera. I didn't expect a lot from a Final Destination movie. But at least the two before it were actually written by someone who cared a bit and were consistent, bothered taking notes. I once read a really terrible book called Anna and the French Kiss because someone I looked up to said it was good. It was not. The main character was supposed to be a real film nerd but was surprised to find that they had cinemas in France. France. The place where many people say modern cinema was born. She's supposed to love film. She should know this. It would have taken the author 2 seconds to Google that, and she didn't order food for a month or something because she thought the lunch ladies would only speak French despite going to a majority English speaking school. She was literally the dumbest protagonist I've ever seen. Transformers. The Decepticons can hack into the US military servers, but can't work out how to simply place a bid on eBay for the glasses? Captures. They work, my dude. 2 from Frozen. 1. A whole mob led by Hans goes to heal Elsa. Then when they catch her and are ready for the hill, all of a sudden Hans says not to hurt her, with absolutely no reason for the flip. It's not like they went there and saw some sort of helpless, tragic creature who deserves pity. They found an ice witch who summoned a giant snow beast to heal the party, including her own sister. 2. Hans wants to take the throne, so he tries to leave Anna to die. But Anna was head over heels for him and they were going to be married. With Elsa gone, that would make them king and queen. Why try to heal her when you've pretty much got exactly what you want? I mean, if you want to rule alone, at least wait until you're officially married to fake her death. Don't know if it's the dumbest, but I'm still wondering how Thor knew the fight was in Wakanda in Infinity War. Stormbreaker was imbued with the power to control the Bifrost, so all Thor would have had to do was will the Bifrost to take him to where the Avengers were, or at the very least, will the Bifrost to take him to the Mind Stone, as he at least knew the Vision had it. After he arrives, he clearly sees the massive battle going on, and must assume that Thanos is there, thus shouting, "Bring me Thanos." Harry Potter never uses magic to fix his impaired vision. I'm pretty sure healing magic is incredibly complicated in the books and requires additional schooling after Hogwarts to be able to successfully fix or heal anything. Sure. Don't you think it would be a common fix for children with impaired vision to visit the doctor and get their eyes adjusted? In Back to the Future, the DeLorean needs 1.21 gigawatts and to be moving at 88 miles per hour to travel through time. In the second movie, Doc is hovering in the air and gets struck by lightning and travels back to 1888. How did the DeLorean travel back in time if it wasn't traveling at 88 miles per hour? The last 2 movies were full of plot holes and inconsistencies. When they blow the carburetor on the DeLorean, they could have simply got a new carburetor from the other DeLorean that was in 1885. The same with gas. Everyone forgets about the second DeLorean in 1885. Thomas the Tank Engine. Trains can't talk, so the whole premise is nonsense, as if intended for small children. Home Alone. Kevin orders a pizza yet the phone lines are supposed to be down, which is why no family can call him. I've googled it and some people have different theories, but I think they just slipped up, lol. In Batman Begins there's a machine that instantly vaporizes all water in the vicinity, but somehow humans, that are 75% water, are unaffected. Con Air is nothing but a collection of plot holes, and it's great. At the beginning of Waterworld, Mariner trades a few ounces of dirt for a whole bunch of goodies. The planet is covered with water, and dirt is the most valuable commodity. It took him months to gather this stuff. Later in the movie, Mariner takes the woman underwater to show her the tragedy of a drowned city, buildings, streets, all covered with water, to highlight the sadness. Aquaman scoops up a handful of mud and lets it drift away on the current. Wait a minute, mud. Wet dirt. Trillions of tons of it. Just beneath the surface of the ocean. There for the taking. At the end of Until Dawn, Sam and Mike, I think those are their names, suddenly know that Wendigos only see movement, despite neither of them having been around to hear that be revealed. In Armageddon, it would be much easier to teach astronauts how to drill than teach drillers how to be astronauts. I asked Michael why it's easier to train oil drillers to be astronauts than it was to train astronauts to become oil drillers. He told me to shut the duck up, so that was the end of that talk. Double quote. In Moana, Maui sings because Maui can't do anything but float to explain why he's been stuck on an island for 1,000 years. Literally in the next scene, he dives off the boat and starts to swim away. I realize it's just a Disney movie, but this annoys the crap out of me. Ready Player One's first key being obtained by driving backwards. You're trying to make me believe that in the entire time that the challenge has been issued, not a single person in that game who did the race decided to screw around by driving backwards.